All right, everybody out there following Move, Think, Smile, especially in our integrative marketing and functional business growth group, you know we are dedicated to tipping the scales from sickness to wellness, not just with physical health, but also with mental and emotional health too. And today I've got one of our rockstar clients with us, the amazing Jake Porter, who is a licensed professional counselor. And Jake, let's just give the spoiler alert. What just happened?
Okay, so been working with you guys for a couple months, getting ready for a 10-day nurture sequence. And when we sent the first email of the 10-day nurture sequence, the response was so overwhelming, I had to stop it before the second email went out because we were at total overload of our capacity given the response. Yeah.
And if I remember right, if you're cool, if I can share this little thing that you sent Andrew, it basically says, hey, Andrew, we had nearly 200 people reply indicating their interest, and 38 have already scheduled a call with Pam. This is more than I was expecting. Is this normal?
Yeah, it was wild. And that number 200, it went up to over 600 replies from that very first email. Pam, who I'd hired, this is all she was doing. That's Pam's whole job was just, take these intake calls. And she was scheduled for a solid month, over 80 calls. Now I know she's met with well over 110 couples. We did finally send out a second email.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but only literally a month later, we sent out a second email.
And so Pam, now she sent something over to us too. And if I can share that real quick, and this is what I think is really amazing. She's like, hey, Jake sent the first email about this program on January 24th. And those who responded directly back, he replied with a link to my calendar. As I write this, because of one email, I've done 82 Zoom interviews, have enrolled 28 couples at Fork Age, and you guys did $112,000, and her enrollment rate is at 33%.
Yes, that's right.
And that was just a couple of weeks ago. Where is she now?
So, like I said, now over 100 couples. Total revenue, we're probably getting close to the 150K mark. If we haven't surpassed, in fact, actually, we may have surpassed that yesterday.
And that's in 6 weeks.
And that's in 6 weeks. We've gone up from our 4K price point to a 6K price point. We did the 4K as sort of a founder's offer. So we've gone up now to 6K, okay. and people are still enrolling, and today, so the second email, I sent the second email out just so not this past Sunday. So today is a Wednesday. Yeah. So not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. So a week and a half ago, I'm still getting replies to the second email of people saying they're interested in scheduling with Pam. So now, it's crazy.
This is amazing. Now, everybody who's watching this right now is like, what the heck was in that email, Jake? And what do you do? So let's kind of step back a little bit and let's talk about, so if you've never heard the term LPC, or if you've seen it and you've always wondered what it means, Jake, what's it mean?
Licensed professional counselor. Yeah.
Licensed professional counselor. And you are in the wonderful state of Texas, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Houston area. That's right.
And now a licensed professional counselor, you have the ability to help people with a lot of stuff, don't you?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
But your specialty, like you've really geared more towards relationships, right?
Yeah. So I'm an LPC. LPCs treat all kinds of things. I, several years ago, just kind of found myself really laying down some roots and getting some really good fruit in this niche around couples where there's been betrayal. And so that is specifically who I have been working with for the last several years as an LPC. As an LPC, though, I'm limited to seeing couples in the state of Texas. So I got a coaching certification. And so what we worked on with you guys is an online coaching program where I've taken a lot of the work I've done and converted it into an accessible format that's I'm able to scale, basically.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that. So most counselors, if I understand correctly, you're kind of like, people come to you, they come into your office, you meet with them one-on-one.
Right.
Is that traditionally how that worked?
That is traditionally how that worked. Now, I several years ago started developing a process where I don't do very much of the come and see me every week for an hour, or every other week for an hour and a half. So several years ago, I started seeing couples in what we call an intensive format. So couples would fly in from New York and Washington State and Georgia, and even from overseas. I've had couples from Dubai and England and Denmark and various places, and they come and they're with me 6 hours a day, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And that's where I was really able to start honing my content, my material. It's what's working. It created my office was like a little laboratory. So that's the work I've done for a long time. But the deal with that is I could only see one couple at a time.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you scale when you're seeing one couple for 5 to 6 hours a day?
Yeah, you don't. Well, I mean, the closest thing to it I could come up with is, train people to do what I do. And so I do have an amazing team, and we still do that, right? I mean, because, there is a difference between an online group coaching program and this, but that, it's not accessible for everyone to come here, and we can only scale our team physically so much. So this has been in the works for a long time, planning the creation of this product, this program.
So I think that's really important to take what Jake is saying and understand that, he's got his classically trained one-on-one with the people that he works with. He's in the relationship space, especially when it comes to betrayal. So we even have a micro niche within a niche, which is really cool, which is super specific. And in your warm network we sent out this email, people are probably going, oh, this guy must be just like this giant influencer with 1 million followers. And if I understand right, you have like what, 10,000 people on an email list?
Yeah, about 10,000, just under 11,000, something like that. My Instagram's nothing, it's like just over 3,000 on Instagram and on Facebook. So yeah, not like this huge, no million followers, nothing like that. No book, no big funnel, none of it.
And so what would you say the big obstacle was before we started working together and really making this a reality and having this kind of success so fast?
Yeah. So, I'm going to say it was mostly mindset and mental and emotional for me.
Really? Okay.
Kind of, for me, it was like, I don't really know how to do this. Is this right? Is this is this good enough? Is it, does it all need to be built out? So lots of uncertainty. And that's where the encouragement from you guys was so helpful. It was like, you don't need to have it all built out. You don't need some complex funnel. You don't need a landing page. I mean, for me, the thought of doing this, and so, I mean, this still blows my mind. I don't have a website for this. And we're crossing 150K in revenue, right? It's like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's so backwards from the way I would have done it, which would have been to like probably perseverate over every little detail, and the angst would have been months long till it was perfect, and then pull the trigger. So
not just perfect, but also really complicated.
Yeah,
a lot of moving pieces. And just when you got the technology of your web page built and your funnel built, it all changes.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Right. Yeah.
All right. So interesting. So this is what we call an impact-driven profit system, right? So I really want to highlight, yes, the money is very cool, but I think what's even cooler, how many relationships are you saving right now?
Yeah, so I think we're close to the 50 enrollee mark, maybe even past it. I mean, I could open it up and tell you, but I mean, it's, let's say 50. It's somewhere around the 50 people mark, and so that's 100 people, and I am getting such encouraging and incredible feedback from the couples in the program. So we do these weekly group coaching calls with them, and I do a feedback survey after every single one. And we've gotten some good feedback, some good constructive criticism, some things we're going to implement to improve the program, which is great. And we want to be open and learn and continuously improve. But by and large, what people are saying is, oh my goodness, we spent 20 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on all these counselors, and this is helping us more than anything else we've ever done. And I mean, I got to admit, there's like this part of me that is still shocked by that. Like, really? Really?
Well, this is what we found. And I do want to highlight that Jake has never worked online before. This is a pilot program that we launched literally on January 24th. Today is March 13th, just to put this in perspective when people are watching this in the future, and broke $150,000 in revenue and is having amazing results with people. And it's really about, I mean, you're going to put a dent. I mean, if you keep on this roll, you're going to put a dent in our divorce statistic.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I loved in the languaging that you guys helped with for all the, the nurture sequence and the social media
Yeah.
campaigns and all that was just talking about the impact this would have on the children of these couples.
Yeah.
Right. And I have seen that on a much, smaller scale in the work I've done face to face with couples, that this is like a legacy changing kind of process. And to think that that's now happening on this greater scale is amazing.
And I'm gonna bet, since doing this from 2011, that when you do a type of group support, doesn't matter if it's physical space, the mental space, the emotional space, health, relationship, career, they all kind of tie together, right?
Right.
Birds of a feather flock together, and a rising tide raises all boats.
Absolutely.
And when people don't feel isolated anymore, and I think this is one thing, if you look at like the Socratic method in therapy, especially with psychiatry and psychology, and even in the healthcare system, like you're isolated, like it's HIPAA, you don't share any data, you don't get to really ask other people questions, they don't cross anything over. But when people actually get into a group of others, and Jake, you tell me if this is true, they have faster results in a shorter period of time.
Yes, they do. I mean, there's already emerging, and the couples are still getting to know each other, but we can see emerging a real sense of community within the program. A lot of the wives sort of took it upon themselves to connect in other ways outside of the coaching program, which is great.
Yeah.
We did give some tips around how to do that in healthy and fruitful ways. But it was great. But, something you just said there about the rising tide, lifting all the ships. Something you said, Adam, in a meeting we had right before we launched was really impactful to me. When you talked about the screening calls, the intake calls, and you said, these weren't your exact words, but it was pretty close. You want to make sure these are cool people to work with.
Yeah.
Like, don't accept people who you don't want to work with. And there was that permission and that mindset of, we don't have to take everybody, and we haven't.
Nice.
Is huge. It's huge because as I'm watching this grow and I'm watching, the scaling happen, there are a couple of couples, I'll say, that are a little more high maintenance than the others.
Yep.
And that's okay. But man, the thought of having led in some of these other couples who would have been even higher maintenance, number one, the impact that would have had on our time, but number two, the impact it would have had on the other couples is huge. And so, that's been a big learning thing for us, is like, careful who we let into this kind of a program, because, if it's individually, I can handle tough couples.
Yeah.
But in the community, that permission, like, is this a cool couple? Is their presence going to continue to raise that tide? That's big.
It is huge. It is absolutely huge. And so what Jake is saying is they've actually said no to people who want to pay them.
Yeah.
Because you now have that ability.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a great feeling.
It is.
It's a great feeling. And we're not trying to be, and I want people to go, it's like, we're not trying to be mean to others, but
no.
Yeah, there are people out there where you might be able to, like, they have the problem you can help them fix, but then you have to look at, are they mentally ready to be fixed and be helped? And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. In the wording that you guys helped us write for the nurture sequence, where it says, I will only work with couples who are, all in and committed. And this, I mean, I had to kind of pause and go, okay, do I mean that? Right? Like, is that true? And Pam has been really helpful on this, because she's told me, well, you said in your email, you'll only work with couples that show these traits, and they didn't. And so I said no. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, I would rather not make another 4K and my time continue to be in this process of being freed up, and also the community being protected from, that one bad apple effect.
And I do want to give a shout out to Pam too, because marketing or a sales funnel, which is basically what we created. We created a very, very simple sales funnel. We wrote an email for Jake. He was like, but he trusted the process. We sent it out. Mega things happened. Pam, who had never really sold before, was then quickly put into a immersion sales role.
Yeah, sure.
And we work with her on, it's like, okay, because yeah, you can get leads all day long, but most people don't understand how to convert those leads. And if you don't understand how to convert those leads, especially when you're coming from different sources, I mean, some of these people on his email list may have known Jake for a while and they were just ready, right? So they were kind of easy. Yeah. Some of these people may have been fresh and have barely heard of him, right? And so it takes a little bit more work. But Pam, I mean, out of the gate, a 33% enrollment rate. You pretty happy with that?
Oh, yeah. And I think it actually climbed to like 38%. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, you guys had told us to expect about a 20%, something like that, 20 to 25%. And so, Pam's killing it out there.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so Jake, you had mentioned the messaging was a big thing. So what were some of the big aha moments, in getting out there? Because again, we didn't build a website. We didn't build some fancy funnel. We didn't do any advertising. We didn't get out there and blitz social media. We wrote an email campaign. Now we did write 10 emails. So the first one he sent out, he just sent out the second one. So he's basically got the next year covered.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, got the next year covered. So really, actually, the very first messaging I did was putting out a teaser, an email teaser, and then a teaser post on my social media, just saying, "Hey, something big is coming," which I've done in the past for a couple of other, announcements, and so I knew that that's had an effect, but people were then they were ready to jump on it. I think the messaging, so another thing about the messaging that really was a learning piece for me is not putting all the details, not putting the cost, not explaining the entire program, not giving an outline of every learning module and all of that, which was, that saved dozens and dozens of hours when we just hit go instead. Yeah. And we're still creating we are building, we're laying this path as we walk it. Still, every Monday we're unlocking new content, and usually on Sunday night I'm creating it.
This is what's interesting, because when we move to a high impact offer, right, and making sure people understand what high impact means, it's a trifecta win. First and foremost, your clients, your patients, whatever your role is, they're getting really great results in a short period of time. If that's not working, this doesn't matter. Number two, the health company, your health company's healthy, right? You've got a good bottom line, and of course, you're not burning out in the process, and you've got the freedom to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is bringing in great people, they're having great results, you got a great income coming in, and you're working less because now you're in a group setting, it's a trifecta win.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to high impact offers, what we see, Jake, and you can tell me if I'm, spot on with this or not, is that hype, in like giving all the details, like, okay, and you get this module, and then you get this, it's worth $9,000, and this is worth $4,500, and for bonus, and if you sign up by this time, hype sells low ticket stuff, it sells courses, but it doesn't sell transformation.
Yeah, that's, I don't know that I would have had those words, but that sounds and feels right based on my experience.
Right.
People, it's even been interesting in that when people are emailing back and forth and they're like, well, I don't want to schedule a call until you tell me, answer what, how much does it cost, and what are the dates, and all of this kind of stuff. Like, I have changed my mindset to where now that's like, okay, you're not someone for the program. Which, if I'm really honest, that could have been me on the other side of it, but that's okay. That's okay. They're not prioritizing the transformation and the openness and the excitement about what's potential over these other questions. And that's data. That's important data for us.
It's important data. And it's a great distinction, because the messaging that we put together is to attract, it does two things. First, it's to repel the magic pill seeker.
Yeah.
Right. And to define the magic pill seeker, that's someone out there who just wants more information, right? They're just looking to either just relieve their symptoms. And Jake, I'm sure you've seen this before. It's someone who comes to a couple sessions and goes MIA.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so and they're just not willing to spend more than a few $100s because they don't see or are not at the mindset place where this is important to them. They're looking at it as a cost and not an investment.
Yes.
Whereas the message that we wrote for Jake is we reframed it more as a big high impact transformation, and we want people who are serious about investing in their relationship and their marriages.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what we've been getting by and large. That's what we've been getting. And I really do, like, I continue to see how long term, as we continue to scale this thing, that is going to make such a difference on whether it works to continue to all three of those points you talked about with a high impact letter, if it continues to move us in that direction.
That's absolutely phenomenal. So beforehand, when you were doing this kind of stuff and you were sending out emails and getting people in, like what were you offering? Were you just offering sessions? Were you offering programs? Like, how was that working for you?
So, I mean, I do some group intensives where, like, 8 men come at a time and can do some family of origin work, or, 8 women come and do this and that. I've got other programs. I mean, we have kind of a luxury retreat for women who've been betrayed, which is awesome and all that, but nothing that was truly scalable. Nothing that was truly scalable. And so that's what set this apart for us.
And let me ask, what's the scale goal here? What are we looking to do this year?
Okay, so you asked me that question when we met before we ever sent that first email, and I can't remember what I said, but I said something like, "Oh well, I don't know. Let's see, if I could, net $1 million a year." And you were like, "Okay, well, then you just did some little calculations," and I'm like, "That is not." Well, actually, that is very doable. It is very, very doable. It's somewhere around the 16 to 18 couples per month, which looks doable at this point, right?
6 weeks, 150 grand. So we know what the 83 club is, right? $83,333 a month. That's what it takes every month to hit $1 million.
There we go. I didn't know the exact number, but now I do.
And so I'm going to take it in the first 4 weeks, you did 112 grand. In the next 4 weeks, you're probably going to do it. Well, you already hit 150. So you're probably going to easily be in the 83 club for the first 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe that's a reality now?
It's wild to me. It's crazy to me. And part of that, I don't know. I get kind of self-conscious talking about this, but I will anyway, because I do think it's important and maybe helpful to other people. So I started my practice in 2017. I was a pastor before that for 13 years. So I was a pastor for 13 years, started this practice in 2017. I have invested in my business year upon year. I don't want to pour mouth here. I've made good money, but I have not actually paid myself a lot. There are people that work for me that have made more than me because I've been reinvesting in the business. Okay. And it's like, what I'm feeling now is like, it's paying off. Like all the sowing, that I've done, I'm now getting to reap. And it feels good. It feels really good. Which it's just wild to me. It's so it's life-changing for me too, for sure.
Right on. That is absolutely phenomenal. So Jake, for anybody out there watching right now, what piece of advice could you give them if they're in the relationship space or the physical or the mental or emotional space?
Yeah. Trust the process. So I say that to my clients all the time. I had to practice that with you guys and just trust the process. But I mean, so I also geek out. I'm a professor in a grad school where I get to teach people who are, counseling students. And I tell them the reason why you want to have good theory and good models, right, is because they show you where you are and where to go.
Yeah.
And rather than just kind of be free floating out there and just kind of blown around by every wind, like, trust the process. Find a process that appears to get the results you want, plug yourself in, humble yourself, and just trust that process and see what happens.
And would you say it was pretty easy working with the group Move Think Smile?
Oh, gosh, yeah, super easy, super easy. Very, very easy to work with. Absolutely. beginning.
Phenomenal. Well, for everybody out there watching, if you are in the wellness space, meaning that you help people with their physical health and or their mental health and or their emotional health, and you can help them significantly improve one of those areas, and you'd like to have an impact-driven profit system like Jake does, well, come on over to movethinksmile.com/apply, and let's see if you qualify, because we can get out there and maybe, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but he only had an email list of 10,000 people. It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't tiny, but also wasn't that big either, right? And
Yeah.
150 grand in 6 weeks help in saving marriages along the way and being able to choose who you work with and taking somebody who never had any sales skills before. What did Pam do before she did this?
She ran some online groups and did some web design stuff. And yeah.
All right. So we took a complete newbie to the sales process, and she's got an almost 40% enrollment rate.
Yeah.
And that's even with her saying no to some people.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, she'd probably be at 45, 50% if she said yes to everybody.
It's probably true. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, awesome, Jake. We are so excited for you. Of course, we're here. You've got 8 more emails left in your arsenal. So when those run out, hit us back up and we'll get back out there again and make sure that this is happening. And thank you so much for what you're doing in the realm of the relationship space, what you're doing and what you're doing in a group setting. Like if I would have had this back in 2000, I'd probably be in a whole different space than I am now, but I love where I am now. It just took me a lot longer to get there.
I hear you. I get it. I do. I get it more than I want to. So I do this work for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Adam. Appreciate you and your whole team and this process.
You got it. All right. So everybody come on over to movethinksmile.com/apply and let's see if you qualify for an impact-driven profit system. Take care, everybody.